Hi, my tarot bumblebees, it's Ethony. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm doing something that I have been thinking about for a long time. But many of you know I really struggle with the Celtic cross, like really, but I want to break down the Celtic cross and get cozy with it. So this is part one of 2 videos I'm going to be doing, where I'm going to show you how to actually formulate a narrative and how the cards in the Celtic cross work together and they aren't just singular cards. So it's not just a 10 card spread, but it is a tapestry that works together. Now, there are a number of different types of Celtic cross out there. Like you might come across different positions. So sometimes 7 might be hopes and fears or outer influences, or 8 might be hopes and fears or outer influences. Just find one that works for you. I am using a specific spread. It'll be talked about and I'll pop it in the description box below as well so you can follow along. But you can change it up, but this is just the one that I am using. I'm really excited to get started. I'm not a massive fan of the Celtic cross because I feel it's a little clunky, but we're gonna do this. We're doing this. Ethony, we're doing this. So the first thing we need to do is have a reading. We'll have someone to read for. So before I get the person, my guinea pig, to shuffle, I'm using the Super Lunaris deck for this reading. I have been loving this. I'm going to get my querent to shuffle the deck off camera and we'll be right back. Okay, so the question that my querent has given me is, what is the potential of their business that they want to start, their brand new business? So it has been shuffled off camera just because that's not the point of you watching somebody else shuffle, and it has been cut. So now we're going to lay out all 10 cards, because again, this is going to be 2 parts, but we're going to be doing the same reading. I'm not going to be doing 2 different readings or 2 different layouts. So we start with the central card, and this is the 10 of Swords. Then we put the second card over the top. So what is crowning or what is covering is the Queen of Wands. Now we're looking at the root cause, which is the Sun. So this goes beneath the 2 cards. Now we're looking at the past. Yes, we have the King of Wands, everybody. So now it's the consciousness position. We have the Empress. We have the future position, which is the Knight of Swords. Also a good omen because this person is a Gemini, and that is the card of Gemini. This is the self or the belief of self position. Strength. Lots of fire, like so much fire in this. Now we're looking at outside influences or environment. Judgment. The 9th position is hopes and fears, justice, and the final position is outcome. The wheel. Oh, that's so lovely. Now we're going to look at the first 2 cards, cards 1 and 2. So these are the cards that are at the center of the reading. And we have here the 10 of Swords and the Queen of Wands. These are both on the more masculine side in regards to elements as well. So we have fire and air in regards to their suits. And it's a very interesting sort of a play on this. So the first thing you want to do is have a look at these 2 cards and how they play with each other. Fire fuels air, and fire is sitting on top of this sword here. So this card is heavily influencing the overthinking or the pressure that's being put on this person mentally. What I also love about this is that this is a 10. So this is saying it's over, it's finished. No, you've got to like just let whatever you've been overthinking go, and just trust more of this creative side, this more instinctual side. So these 2 actually do work together. So you need to see whether they oppose or whether they actually work together. The only thing about these 2 cards is they're both very intense. So there's this level of intensity that's happening. And then if we have a look quickly at the rest of this, fire, 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 fire. There's and a lot of air, right? So there's a lot of intensity around this entire reading. So it's like, instead of looking at the whole picture and looking at everything that needs to be done and all of the things in this 10 and like just how much needs to get done and blah, 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 focusing on one thing at a time. Take the 10 swords out of the back and just focus on one sword at a time so that you're not getting overwhelmed, and remembering that it's a marathon, not a race. So we look at those 2 cards as the first step. So I'm going to just move this here so we can see all of them together like this, because we're going to come back and reference these cards quite a lot and keep going back and forth to show how you can read this easily and read this in connection, because you can actually sit with this reading for a really long time, the Celtic Cross, and get a lot out of it. Now we're going to look at the root cause, the underlying factor, where this is happening. I often find this to be the subconscious motivation in regards to the reading, right? So when we have the conscious and the subconscious, or the active and the inactive, it's like, what is really driving us? And what I love about these two cards in the conscious and the subconscious, even though it's card 3 and 5, they play together because they are linked to the mind. So here we have the Sun, which is a beautiful card to have in this position, because it means that this desire for inner happiness, this desire for doing something that you truly love, is what is coming up for this reading. What's really funny is I remember having a tarot reading with Teresa, the tarot lady, about starting my tarot business when I was just given birth to Dom, and I was doing some business mentoring with her. I hired her and I got a reading from her, and I said, is this a good idea? And guess what card I got? The Sun. So I see this as a really positive card to come up, and a beautiful card to sit in that subconsciousness. And we have that connection too with the Queen of Wands, of maybe that added pressure that this is something this person really desires. It's something that they really want, and therefore maybe putting a little bit of pressure on themselves. You know, don't fuck it up, in the words of RuPaul. And that can be either a really great motivator if it's harnessed, and can be a drowner if it's not. And what you can see throughout the rest of this reading is it looks like it's going to get turned into motivation through the Knight of Swords and strength. You know, the Knight of Swords has an open expression in this deck, and is wielding that sword. So we have the Sun down on the bottom here for your subconscious, and it is connected to the rest of the reading. So as you can see, I'm reading backwards now. I'm looking at the third card, how it connects to the second card, and how it connects to the first card. Now I'm going to jump and go to the fifth card, because for me it reads a little bit more intuitively to talk about subconscious and conscious first, and then look at these two cards, because you're now doing a cross as well, which makes sense. And then we have the Empress. So not only do we have that there is a very high maternal family connection to this reading, but also that there is this desire to have an abundant life. She's connected to Taurus and Venus, so wanting good things in life, wanting to be able to set their own boundaries, work at their own pace, do their own thing, but like live a really successful life. Also love that this is a card of abundance sitting in the consciousness, because obviously this person is coming to this with an abundance mindset, that there is plenty of opportunity out there, and there's going to be a lot for them. Now we have a look at how the Empress and the Sun work together. One is very traditionally feminine in the tarot, and one is very traditionally masculine in the tarot. And we see this theme come up a couple of times in the King and Queen of Wands, and then we have the Empress and the Sun. We have the Knight of Swords and Strength, even though the Knight of Swords is more feminine presenting in this deck. And there seems to be this very dualistic sense in this entire reading. But what that also says to me is family, family, family. The Empress and the King and the Queen very much connect to a family dynamic here, and the legacy of the family coming into this. Now, I know a bit about this querent. As many of you know, I always get some background, and this person comes from a family that runs multiple businesses. So there is this legacy, this path that has been built before them. And not to say that they're getting everything on a silver platter, but their parents can offer very good advice and have made mistakes in business, as everyone does, and has had success. So this person has good counsel when it comes to proven counsel when it comes to going to them. And so this theme of legacy in the Empress and the Queen of Wands really sits. And also the Sun, if you look at the mother and the son, like this connection of family is connected there as well, even just in the titles. So you have the Empress as a mother, and the Sun is often seen as a child on a horse. So there is that connection as well. So if you're reading like this and you're seeing these connections, maybe you have a bit of context like me, or maybe you don't, but don't overthink it, but don't question it, right? You got to go with it and just trust that that is correct. This is a very easy reading because it's very supportive. We're going to move over to the harder cards, I think, over here. But so far, very supportive for the readings. We have the conscious and the subconscious working well together, and we have these cards here. So now we're going to move on to these two cards. So now we have the past and the future. So I'm going to put these two up here. past is 4, future is 6. So now we're going to have a look at how these two play together, and then how these two also, especially this past one, influences everything else. I've already talked about it a little bit, but we're just going to have a little squiz. So the past is coming from I love this card. This is my entrepreneur card in my tarot courts. This really does speak to this person being able to work for themselves, manage their own time. I said this a number of times before. Not everyone is built to be an entrepreneur. It's not something that I say to be bitchy or mean, but just not everyone is built to be an entrepreneur. This person is, with the King of Wands here. They have that archetype very, very strongly in their being. They also have the Knight of Swords, which is someone who takes action. So if you had this entrepreneur, but say you had something like, I don't know, the Two of Swords or the Hanged Man or the Hermit or anything that's a bit slower, there could be this block of actually taking action. But you have a Knight, which is the action, the action cards in the court cards. So not only does this person have the vision of the king, they also have the action of the Knight. So these two work well together. Again, fire is fueled by air. So therefore it's a lovely connection here. So how do these play going forward? So the past is going to show you a lot of how it's connected in a lot of these cards. This vision is going to impact every other card in the reading. And the past card, I mean, I have to admit, when I started reading the tarot, sometimes I wouldn't even look at the past card too much because I'm like, well, yeah, we know that. Like, duh, it's the past. Why is this even a card in the reading? But what you can see from the past card is the belief system, or the ideals and ideas this person has. How rigid are they, or how open are they? The great thing about the King of Wands is, even though they tend to be a little bit of my way or the highway, they are still a visionary. So they do tend to be a lot more open than some other tarot court members or tarot cards in the deck. So this card plays off of the Queen, what is covering. So this is carrying then over into the current situation, and keeps going in the Strength card, which is a card of Leo, connected back through to the King, also in the Sun as well. So this past influence of a successful family, of a legacy, of being an entrepreneur, of watching entrepreneurial parents, is a run through theme throughout this entire reading. It doesn't mean you need to have entrepreneurial parents to have a successful business, but it's definitely something that it's like, when you see success around you and when you are told and encouraged by people to go out and do things, it makes it a lot easier. It makes that belief, that self-esteem quite high. One more thing before I wrap up part 1, the future card will connect to this card up here, to the outcome. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about how this person is definitely going to overcome any of the doubt in the 10 of Swords, okay? So because this person has got those connections of the 10, not only does the 10 of Swords turn into the Knight of Swords after the page, so it's a continuation and an expansion in the suit progression, but it means this person is harnessing any energy coming to them into action. So they're not allowing this stalemate or this stress or this worry or overthinking burden them down. So that's another important connection I just wanted to make there. So this is part 1 of getting cozy with the Celtic cross and seeing how different cards work with each other. I hope to see you on part 2, and make sure you check out my video on intuitive tarot reading for yourself right here, and I'll see you next time.